So I got messages on my UFC is fake channel, and shout out to all the people that sent me messages saying, hey, you might have been more right than we thought when you called like 2 years ago when you were saying that the UFC was fake and that they fixed the John Jones Gone fight. Shout out to those people. All the other trolls that called me all types of names. They said I didn't know what I was talking about. They said I never trained in my life. People were calling me all types of stuff. Are they going to come back and say, hey, we were maybe wrong? No, of course not, because they're internet trolls and that's what they do. But whatever. It wasn't just me. It was a small minority of people that were like, yo, the UFC's up to some funny business. Anyway, let me get out my ego because that doesn't serve anybody. And a lot of other people saw it too. Let's talk about this Bulgarian fight fixing scandal. Everything is fake in our society, okay? From the financial sector to politics to the sports sector. 2025, the spiritual significance of that year, in my opinion, and in other people's opinions, is that year was to show us how fake this matrix is. And it's going to get more and more obvious how fake civilization is as the years go on until it probably just crumbles. Okay? But that's a whole nother topic. The UFC is 99% real with 1% fake rigged fights. They have to do that because they have to preserve their cash cows. Also, Dana White and the Fertitta brothers and all those people that are backing the UFC, these people put money on the fights. The reason why sports is so big is not because we just like sports. The reason why sports is so big is because of Vegas, is because of the gambling. So a lot of the people, a lot of the promoters, a lot of even some of the coaches, Dana, the people backing Dana, they put money on these fights. Sometimes even the fighters bet on themselves, okay? Y'all don't gotta believe me. I'm telling you, this is how it is. Again, most fights are real, but some fights, a small percentage of very pivotal fights are fixed. Look at John Jones, all right? John Jones is a wonderful fighter, great fighter. Even without being protected by the UFC, even without the steroids, he would have been top 10, top 15 ever. But the UFC has fixed some of his fights, and they've let him get away with a lot of things because they had to keep him as the top dog. I'll give you an example. You know why Dana doesn't want to fix the gloves? It's because that is their tool to manipulate fights. Whenever the fight is getting away or the momentum is shifting, you can always eye poke and the ref will look away. And then that's how they sway a lot of fights. It's not that Dana doesn't know that there's a glove issue, but they like it that way. They want there to be a glove issue because that's one of their main tools. Even Rampage Jackson said that when you're fighting John Jones and you're doing well, he's going to eye poke you. All right? That's just what it is. And you know what? I love DC. DC's literally probably my favorite fighter. DC, to me, he's a guy that fought giants and he came out on top. But even he poked Stipe. And I think he might have done it on purpose, okay? So this is a tool that fighters use to kind of manipulate fights, and the refs let them get away with it. That's just one way that the UFC fixes fights. The other way is that they just flat out fix the fight. They tell one guy to take a dive. Look, I don't care what anybody says. The 3 fights that I know with 99.9% certainty that they were rigged was Cowboy Cerrone versus Conor McGregor. That was super rigged, okay? That was one of them. The other one was Juliana Pena versus Amanda Nunes. That was super rigged. And the third one is John Jones versus Gone. Okay, I'm gonna quickly go through these 3. There are others, but these are the 3 really big ones. Look, Conor McGregor could not beat Donald Cerrone. Maybe in his prime, but not coming back. He couldn't beat him, okay? Donald Cerrone is a bad dude. You're telling me that these little shoulder strikes that have never been used again to knock somebody out to get a TKO. You ever notice that? It hasn't been used again to get a TKO. How did Conor McGregor, did he just get so lucky that day that this one secret scroll move managed to knock out a dog like Cowboy? No, come on. It was a rigged fight, okay? Here's the thing. When Cowboy hits the canvas, his BJJ is so good that he's going to submit you within the first 10 seconds, especially a BJJ scrub like Conor, all right? Look what Cowboy did to, who's the cat in BKFC? Mike Perry. Within seconds of them hitting the mat, he already had Mike Perry. I think he got him in an armbar. That's how good Cowboy's jiu-jitsu is. But for this day, some reason he hits the mat and he's just totally clueless. He's looking up at Conor like, oh my God, you hit me with the shoulder strikes. Now I forgot jiu-jitsu. It was a fake fight. That's why Cowboy and McGregor were so chummy in the lead up, because Cowboy is a prostitute for money. All right. He's a prize fighter. Okay. And that's not a pejorative. Like, he fights for money. The UFC offered him a big bag to throw the fight. That's what happened. I'm sorry. Okay. Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena. Yo, people made life-changing money off of that fight. If you had bet on Pena, you would have been set. Okay. That was probably the biggest upset in women's MMA history. Nobody thought Pena was going to win. So if you had bet even $5,000, you would have, the odds were crazy. You could look it up. All right. Pena didn't even have hooks in. The choke, the rear naked choke was horrible. Even a white belt would do better than that. And you're telling me Amanda Nunes, the GOAT female fighter next to Valentina Shevchenko, just doesn't even fight it? Just like, oh, you got me. That was a fixed fight, okay? I'm sorry, it is, You can cry all you want. Third one is John Jones versus Gane. Look, let me tell you, when Gane first came in the UFC, I was like, he's the one. He's the one. And I still believe that. Gane could beat just about any heavyweight. Gane was John Jones's kryptonite. Gane, the way he moves, he was Aspinall before Aspinall. They knew that if they had let him fight, he would have beat John Jones, straight up. But they had to rig that fight. They had to, because Gane was going to piece him up. John Jones came into that fight sloppy. He didn't have his steroids, and they had to rig the fight. Okay? And you can look on my channel, and other people have done breakdowns of it too. Go to UFC is Fake, and you will see a breakdown of how Gane tapped when he didn't have to tap. He didn't even fight the choke. He looked like a white belt. And I have other footage of Gane practicing that same position years before, knowing exactly what to do. Gane is not a scrub on the ground, all right? Y'all can say what you want. I can't even understand how some people will still cling on to this John Jones myth. John Jones is the most protected fighter ever. Listen, he and Dana have some type of Illuminati blood pact. There's some weird stuff going on, but they've protected John Jones. Even when he loses, he doesn't lose. All right. He is the chosen one. Okay. So they're going to do anything to protect him. They knew that Gane was going to give him trouble striking wise. Striking wise, Gane is a beast. All right. The only person that probably really legitimately beat him was Volkov. Even in the Francis Ngannou fight, I think that one was fixed too. Who goes for a knee bar when you already have top position? I'll wait. All Gane had to do was stay on top for the next 30 seconds. He didn't have to go for that knee bar. He was winning the round. And you go for a knee bar? So you got top position. That's something I would do in a fight. That's how low IQ it is. I had top position and I went for an armbar. That's something somebody that just started fighting would do. He threw that fight. He threw the fight. Even MMA Guru, I was watching the live stream, and MMA Guru literally said, "Oh my God, he's throwing the fight." And I made a video of it. I made a video compiling the events, and I had MMA Guru on there saying he threw the fight. But then cognitive dissonance kicked in, and he didn't want to admit that it was thrown. But he threw the fight. Gone. You gotta understand, these guys, they're not true martial artists. They are prize fighters. If you offer them enough money, they will capitulate. Most people, most of these fighters, okay? So that's just what it is. The UFC is 99% real, 1% fake, all right? That's just what it is. And there are probably other fights that are fake, are rigged, that we just missed. But yeah, that's just how the business is, I mean, all sports are rigged to a certain extent. Even the NFL is even worse. The NFL is even more obvious. The NBA even more obvious. So that's just what it is. Does it make me like the UFC any less? No, not really. I mean, kind of. But I understand that's just, you have to create a profit. You can't have champions losing unpredictably and really be able to be as profitable as the UFC. You need to be able to build fighters, okay? So that's just what it is. But yeah, anyway, this year we're being shown that everything, all these institutions that we kind of looked up to are fake. That's just what it is. All right, guys, take care. Check out my UFC is Fake channel. Hopefully I'll have time to put actual clips of each of these fights showing where they were thrown. But anyway, thank you guys, the people that gave kind comments. I appreciate y'all. The trolls, I also appreciate y'all. Take care. Holler at me. I love y'all.